On today's episode of the DeRaud-Messinger Show, we preview and predict Texas versus Kansas. Longhorns fans, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. It's greatly appreciated. So to begin, as always, we have some basic game info for you all. The game is Saturday, the 19th of November at 2:30 p.m. Central Time at Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, Kansas. The game will be televised, Dylan, on Fox Sports 1. And the Longhorns, last I saw, were favored by 9 points. So, Dylan, how are you feeling about this game? How are you feeling about Kansas in the scouting report?
Well, it's never good when you're banished to Fox Sports One land, Devon, after riding high on some Fox games, possibly some ESPN. But that's just kind of where Texas is at the moment. But as we look into Kansas, it's not your regular Kansas team, Devon. They're not 1-10 coming into this game. They're actually 6-4. They're coming off a loss against Texas Tech, but the offense is there. They're second in the Big 12 with 36.9 points per game, fourth in total offense at 444 yards per game in the Big 12. They're ninth in pass yards, but also fourth in rush yards, while also averaging 6 rush yards per play, which is the best in the Big 12. So that running game is something to watch out for, and they don't really turn over the ball much. They're tied for 10th with turnovers per game at point 0.7. So this isn't a team that makes a ton of mistakes, Devin. That's how they've kind of kept in these games in the past, and why they've been able to take teams like TCU and also beat Oklahoma State as well. So they've been competitive all year. At quarterback, at impact players, they got Jalen Daniels. Don't know if he's going to play, though, Devin. He's been out since the TCU game when he got injured around halftime, but he's been getting closer to a return. Leipold hasn't, he's not 100% on like where, if he'll be ready. Probably game time decision. So like I can totally see, him showing up and pulling a Dylan Gabriel or something. Well,
Well, the
for other
reverse Dylan
not
Gabriel.
yeah,
Yeah.
reverse Dylan Gabriel is what I meant. So we'll see what happens there. But I would honestly expect Jason Bean to possibly be playing, but he also got injured last game, Devin. So not kind of positive who's going to be playing. But if Bean does play, he does provide a similar rushing threat as Jalen Daniels. He had a 9-3 rush yard game against Oklahoma State. Not as good as like a pure runner as Jalen Daniels, but it's still there. He played well against Tech. He had 270 yards passing in the loss with 4 touchdowns. So he's able to get the ball, rolling and spreading it out. Devin Neal in the backfield, um, second in the Big 12 in rush yards per attempt at 6.7. Um, he's utilized in the passing game as well, and he's been rushing for 951 yards this season. So that rushing attack definitely something to key in on for that Texas defense, as well as the receiving core of Lawrence Arnold, Luke Grimm, Quentin Skinner, and then the tight end Mason Fairchild. That's where a lot of the bulk of their offense can kind of come from, especially in that passing game, and definitely a lot of the short routes. That's where they're mostly making teams pay, is kind of getting the ball in the hands of their playmakers and just constantly moving it downfield until their running attack kind of just breaks loose in some fashion. So that's kind of what to watch out for on that offense, as well as a strong offensive line that is good in the pass blocking. It's helped out by those RPOs and leaving the defensive line of the other team guessing, and also an above average run blocking attack.
Yeah, and Dylan, as you were talking about the record, not the same Kansas team as years past. However, a certain Kansas victory over Texas in the very near future or near past, Dylan is obviously probably going to keep up some fans at night for the foreseeable future there. But Coach Leipold has been changing the ways of this program, as you mentioned. Bean and Daniels are both hurt at quarterback. However, I think both you and I expect at least one of them to be playing in this game starting, not relying on the third string quarterback. I heard Daniels and Bean are both practicing this week, which is good news for Kansas Jayhawks fans. We'll see which one ends up starting. But I just want to talk about Bean a little bit because until I see Daniels on the field, I'm going to say Bean is the presumed starter. So far in relief of Daniels, Dylan, he's thrown for 1,256 passing yards, along with 14 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. So for a backup, Dylan, not too shabby for Kansas out there. And as you said, not the runner that Daniels is, but he can contribute in the ground game a little bit. But if Daniels is in there, definitely more of a threat. something that Texas linebackers would have to worry about. I know Jalen Ford has had a good season, and Dylan, overall, the Longhorns against TCU in that loss last weekend on defense looked great. The offense, Dylan, no comment, no comment. We're going to move past that. But yeah, running back for Kansas, Devon Neal. I put the pride of Lawrence. You know, he's from Lawrence, Kansas, stayed at Kansas. This is just a great storyline. He's looking to eclipse, as you said, you know, he's got the 951 yards, I believe, rushing. So he's looking to eclipse that 1,000 yard mark on the season against Texas. Obviously, a big incentive for him there to, you know, look for Kansas's second straight win against the Horns. But then receivers, as you mentioned, also Lawrence Arnold, Dylan, the pride of DeSoto, Texas, the Dallas area native. You know, I got to cover him a little bit, and I'm happy to see that he's leading the team in receiving with 529 yards. But then also, as you mentioned, the names Luke Grimm and Quentin Skinner are the other ones to watch out for on Kansas. Now, Dylan, defensively, I have one, you know, tried and true saying on defense, Dylan. If your safety is leading the team in tackles, I am concerned. You know, Kenny Logan Jr. out there has 80 tackles, which, yet again, not that he's a bad player, because that's not anything indicative about him. He's got 80 tackles. He's leading the team, but as a team stat, not the greatest when that safety is leading the position or the team in tackles. But he's closely followed, Dylan. You know, so it's not two safeties here. Closely followed by senior linebacker Rich Miller with 75 tackles. So, you know, as you said, Kansas defense hasn't been too great, but I mean, we said the same thing about TCU, which was true prior to last weekend, and then the Longhorns still, you know, just did not function out there offensively. Then on the defensive line, the concern for that Texas front is Lonnie Phelps at defensive end. The junior leads the team with 6 sacks, and then secondary, Dylan, you know, rest in peace Kobe Bryant, but we got a different Kobe Bryant here at cornerback. The sophomore leads the team with 3 interceptions. Overall, Dylan, nothing too flashy about this Kansas defense. However, yet again, Texas has really, you know, proved reasons for concern week in and week out, especially within the past maybe 4 weeks or so. So do you have any more scouting report, or should we move on to X Factors?
No, not too much to report on the old scouting report, Devin. At least defensively, again, they're pretty much ninth in a lot of statistics on the defensive side of the ball. They're allowing 30.4 points per game in the in games, and like a lot of those times, I mean, they're just having to keep pace with the other team's offense. And I just, they're really well coached, so they don't really shoot themselves in the foot too much, but the talent hasn't always stacked up for Kansas. But with those X factors, Devin, let's talk about Texas. Big thing here is I don't even know if it's positional groups. I know Ewers needs to play better. That offense really needs to, get something going. Last game, that was just, it's really frustrating when your team's in the game and then just can never take advantage of what was given to them. And that's the biggest thing is, will Texas be motivated enough to try to bounce back in this game? I mean, Devin, you probably don't want to hear this, but Big 12 championship, hopes, they're still alive. I mean,
Stop.
Texas needs to win out. OU or West Virginia
Oh
need to
gosh.
beat Oklahoma State in the next 2 games. West Virginia or Kansas need to beat Kansas State. So it's still there. Texas can still win out and have a chance, Devin, even if you don't believe it. But I'm kind of saying that as to, there's still things to look for this team to kind of bounce back and improve from last year and end this season right. Tough loss against TCU, but the defense really carried this team and showed that this is a high-level, defensive team with a great, pass rushing attack. So Texas needs not really look at next year right now and, focus on this Kansas team that's very well coached. And on this other side, Kansas, can their offensive line stop this defensive front of Texas? Sweat and Coburn were going at Duggan. Kendre Miller.
And
That
Sorrell, my apologies. Baron
again.
Baron Sorrell on that Texas
Yeah.
front, I believe a sack and a half was really going off. But yeah.
No, a lot of pressure coming from that defensive side of the ball for Texas. Duggan did not have a good game. Kendre Miller, he had that big breakaway, Devin, for 75 yards, but that was about it. If you take that away, that
There
was
was a
actually
holding on the side, but yeah.
yeah, maybe a missed assignment by somebody, but
That was a hold. That was a hold, but yeah.
besides the point, you can go with either one. But
Ryan
they
Watts
definitely
had a little bit of jersey pulled, but yeah.
all right. Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna break you on this one, but yeah, that defense for Texas played great. So this Kansas offensive line gonna have a lot of work cut out for him. Kansas obviously gonna mix in those short passes to kind of keep that pressure off of Bean or Daniels, whoever plays. So that's a matchup to watch for Kansas.
I mean, my X factor, Dylan, is pretty simple. You alluded to it. I mean, if it works, good things happen. If it doesn't, of course, as we've seen, things have not happened. That is Quinn Ewers, and I put Dylan completion percentage. I mean, Ewers has just not been on the same page with receivers, and that's been, you know, on fault of both sides. Ewers has just had some throws that have been uncatchable, but then at times,
Bad
the
drops though.
yeah,
He was
exactly. The receivers have dropped passes, have ran routes slightly weird. Dylan, I don't know how to better explain that. Just
good routes. Yeah, there you go.
it just has not been pretty overall. Of course, though, the key to the game is Bijan Robinson, but I'm putting X factor as Ewers' completion percentage because if Ewers is at least hitting a throw or two, here or there when he needs it, Dylan, the safeties and secondary in general are going to be a little more lax and paying attention to Ewers and not pressing up into the box area, forcing Bijan to face yet again like another 8/9 man box like he did against TCU. And of course, that was not effective for Bijan. I believe he rushed for 29 yards against TCU. But Dylan, the thing to watch out for, you can call me Weatherman Devon for this one. I looked at the forecast for Lawrence on Saturday. The projected high currently was 35 degrees Fahrenheit, which, does not really help the quarterback in this situation. Expect a lot of running, of course, but yet again, you got the hand warmers down on the sidelines. You got to use them when you're also out in the field. Ewers just going to have to, toughen out that cold. And, Dylan, yet again, not going to lean on the throwing game, of course, but he's going to have to connect when they need him to. So next, Dylan, we got danger level. What are you feeling?
Yeah, Devin, I'm hot. I'm hot with these, danger level 10s, and that's exactly what I'm going with in this matchup as well. Texas on the road against Kansas. They're 1-2 on the season. I think their only win was in Kansas State. So, haven't been great on the road. This Kansas offense, they can put points together no matter who's at the helm, either Bean or Daniels. They will get over 30. Um, you know, most of the time during the season. So this offense, nothing to play around with. But this is also, for Texas side, it's a bad defense that Texas could Ewers could right the ship on if he takes what Kansas gives him and does his best not to do, a Zach Wilson impression yet again where he's not throwing into double coverage and just kind of going for the deep shot rather than having guys only taking the the right read like that one play where Bijan was so
Uh,
open on the left side and the defender fell down. Oh, just that one pain to watch
yeah,
the
that hurt.
replay. It felt like they kept bringing it back up. But if Ewers can just go through his progressions, correctly, not get lost in the moment, and get concerned of I got to get Worthy the ball, I got to look for him. Get Whittington involved as well. Look for your other targets. Make Kansas, respect everyone else out on that field, as well as getting Bijan ready. Texas got a lot, to look forward to in this match. A lot of things that they can do correctly if they go in, if they execute correctly. But I got to leave it at a 10 just with, Kansas being a team can't mess around with. This is a senior night for them. So a lot of emotions. They're trying to, finish 7-5 on the season or go hopefully for 8-4. So a lot on the line here for both teams.
10, Dylan, is quite a lot, but I mean, you got your reasons there. I went with the 6, still pretty sizable, all things considered. If you look at like Kansas football team historically, of course, this season, Dylan, definitely different setting there. This is a team that, of course, Texas desperately needs to win in order to recover that image, Dylan. If they slip to Kansas on the road here, definitely the narrative will plummet from I wouldn't say optimistic right now, but overall season wide, maybe slight optimism to definitely heading into the same direction that last year was heading. Of course, I mentioned the weather conditions are not going to be great. In fact, they're going to look pretty terrible on Saturday. You got that factoring in. Dylan, of course, the road environment in Kansas. People will show up for a Texas team when they're in. And then, of course, Kansas, won last season, Dylan. I mean, those are a three-prong recipe for disaster. I'm going to give it a 6, though. Not going to go 10. I know you're proud about that 10. You're really using up all your 10s. We need to put a sanction on you there to keep you down a little bit. But, Dylan, predictions, how are you feeling?
Yeah, Devin, a lot of storylines going into this. Is Texas falling apart at the seams? Is Kansas, becoming a contender in the Big 12 going into next year, building off of this team? I'm going with 35-31. Kansas. Do we start talking about how Kansas owns this Texas Longhorns program right now? And has anybody lost to Kansas 2 straight years in a row in the Big 12? Gonna have to do a research on that one, Devin. Maybe I'll probably tweet it out later if we find out. But this is gonna be a tough one. I like Kansas in this matchup, and I question if Texas is gonna just be kind of going into this game like we have to win this game. We have to put this the clamps on this Kansas team. So a lot of this is gonna fall on coaching. Sark, I feel like, has shown progress in this season, but this is one of those games where if they were to lose and not look right and not take advantage of the opportunities that Kansas is giving them, it's kind of when is like Sark going into year 3. Is he truly going to build off of this? Because it kind of feels somewhat similar to Herman during his tenure right now. And obviously Sark, very good coach, but I don't know if you got to start getting stuff gelling here for Texas.
Yeah, this is Dylan, a sneaky pressure game for those Longhorns. As you talked about, this is kind of, secretly one of the more critical games that Sark is going to be having coached. I talked about the narrative. One way or the other, it's going to be in play here. I have Texas winning. I know, Dylan, you're being the troll, which is good. We need the troll. You were right last weekend.
We did this last year, though, and they
You were
lost
right
5
last
or 6
weekend.
straight,
Yeah.
and we looked like fools because we kept picking them to win.
That's true.
I'm learning from last year, all right? I'm learning
Okay.
from last year. I don't know about you.
Yeah, that was good. I was waiting for it. Yeah, I mean, Dylan, I like to keep my head in the sand when it comes to history, but yeah. I mean, Dylan was right last weekend. I admit I was wrong. Not a pretty game either way last weekend. But I do have Texas winning. Dylan, a lower score than you predicted. I know, kind of shocking, given the Kansas defense that you were talking about earlier and the Texas lack of offense that we have seen, week in and week out in recent weeks. But I do have Texas winning 27-20. Yet again, I'm doing a weather factor into that one. If Texas wants to win this one, Dylan, I'm thinking Bijan is going to need at least 150 yards rushing, maybe more. And if not, Roshan is going to really have to be picking up the load there. Just not too confident in Ewers throwing the football at this point in time. Dylan, for him right now, it's like a basketball player that needs to see the ball go through the hoop. You need to get him some free throws, get the easy completions out of the way, involve Jordan Whittington earlier than just about halftime in last week's game. Dylan, not too great there. But if you can get that going and Bijan going, that's the recipe for success. Of course, Dylan, the recipe for disaster is that flip side. If Kansas can, replicate a little bit of that TCU defense and get Ewers to show some inefficiencies, and then Bijan now is facing a stacked box, then Longhorns fans, you might need to, pace yourself on the heart monitor there. But, Dylan, how are you Kansas and Texas fans feeling? Let us know down below. Let us know your score prediction. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, have a great rest of your day.